Hello and happy Easter, Indian Motorcycle Nation and fellow two-wheel riding nation. Regardless of what you ride, hope you all are having a great weekend and that it's safe for you. You're having fun with friends, family. You celebrate Easter. Happy Easter to you. And if you don't, well, I hope you're having a great weekend. Just enjoying the great weather where you're at. If you're having great weather, if you're not, well, hopefully you're enjoying the great riding weather through other folks on YouTube that we all see riding in these fantastic places. I'm not riding today. I had a lot of work to do here at home. One of which is being finally making this video of my ride to Tucson and what I thought of the Indian FTRS, the 2022 Indian FTRS on my first long run that I've done on the bike. I just came back a little over a week ago from doing 1,518, to be exact, 1,517.7 mile round trip to Tucson, Arizona with the Indian Riders group down in Indian Motorcycle at Tucson that they were hosting down there. And it was great to see a number of riders from around the country, and I think one or two from all the way from our friends to the north, from Canada. So it was great to see a bunch of new folks and folks who I've seen their postings of either on Facebook, an Indian group on Facebook, or that I've seen on YouTube. I got to meet a YouTuber that is now an Indian ambassador down in Tucson. He was down there for one day that we did a riding, and it was great to finally meet my first famous YouTuber and brand new Indian ambassador down there, Sergeant Laz, Air Force and combat veteran from the wars that we just wrapped up. It was great to see a fellow combat vet and break bread with him and talk with him. I'll leave a link to his YouTube channel that he does, and he's a much better YouTuber than I am. He rides an Indian Challenger, and he has some great content on his channel. So it was great to do that. So on to what is actually my second take of trying to make this video, because I got a little too long-winded in the first one. I'm not the greatest YouTuber, but I try to do stuff on my motorcycle, specifically, my Indian, which I ride most of the time, of what I look for when I'm looking for videos on either FTRs or motorcycles in general on YouTube. And I try to do that, talk about my bike and let you walk around my motorcycle and see it, because that's what I want to do. I want to see people that are doing YouTube, see the motorcycles, see what they're talking about, and hear the details that I'm looking for. Like, how does it ride? How's the gas? What are your thoughts on, the seat, the handling, the handlebars, the gauges, the tires, etc. on your motorcycle? And so I'm trying to do that, or trying to get better at doing that on my bike. So I wanted to do a video of what it was like to do the long haul on the motorcycle. I can say that I was not disappointed in how the Indian performed, and I was actually more than happy and pleasantly surprised at how well and how comfortable I was in an Indian FTR S on a long run. And I said that I would, on a couple of posts I made of the pictures of my prep, and I think a video of the prep I did for the run, that I would do a video of what I thought of the bike. I can say that the motorcycle exceeded my expectations for the run, and this is only speaking for how I feel on the motorcycle. There are a lot of complaints, and I'll start with the first thing, from a lot of riders that own FTRs, first and second generation FTRs, about the seat. For me, the stock seat of the FTRS has not been an issue. There is always a better seat for any motorcycle, and I'm sure there's a bunch of good aftermarket seats for the Indian FTRS. But for the way I ride and my experience, my experience with the FTRS, I have not felt the need to spend the extra money on buying another seat for the bike. And after this run, I still don't see the need to spend the additional several $100s that I could spend on something else that would be better for this motorcycle and one of my other ones on a seat. So I'm happy with the seat. On the ride at about 400 miles, I started getting really fatigued, and I found myself wanting and needing to stand up on the pegs, and the motorcycle made it very easy for me because my feet are up underneath me to stand up on the bike. What would have been nicer is if my handlebars were a little bit higher, but you know, they were fine, and I was able to stretch my legs and rest my fourth point of contact on the ride while en route, and didn't have to pull over, and sat back down, and I was just fine. That first leg that we did of the run down to Tucson was just over 600 miles, and we did that I think in 12 or 13 hours. I'd have to look at the time that I left home and then see what time we got there. I think I left home. We left at 8 in the morning from Albuquerque. I left from here, from the northern part, earlier than that, but from Albuquerque, 8 o'clock in the morning, and got there just after 6 in the evening. So it was a 10-hour ride from Albuquerque. Or actually, it was 6 o'clock their time, 7 o'clock our time here. So it was 11 hours from Albuquerque is what we did that first day. And I was more than happy with how the FTR performed on the long straights and on the twisties down on the Devil's Highway in Arizona, which I'm hoping to be able to include parts of that ride that I GoPro'd on the Devil's Highway in this video. The windscreen that I bought for the motorcycle more than did its job. Very, very happy with the windscreen and having spent that money. It only protects me from the neck down. From the neck up, I get the wind, but the wind did not affect me to the point to where I was sore from the ride because of the wind. And I've been sore from fighting the wind on my 2001 Sportster when I used to do long distance riding on that bike. And I used to do long distance riding on my Sportster because at one point it was my daily rider and the only motorcycle I used to own. And my neck would get sore because I had no windshield or any kind of wind protection from that bike except for my speedometer and my tachometer that the motorcycle came with. So I know what neck fatigue feels like in the wind, and I did not get it on this FTR. And again, I am only speaking for myself. A lot of guys probably have a different experience on the FTRs than I did. Next thing about is the gas. I have been experiencing since I first bought the bike very good gas mileage. I did very good on gas mileage. I was averaging 44, 46 miles to the gallon. The best day I had was a run that we did at Tombstone from Tucson. It was not a hard ride, and I think when I filled up, if I recall correctly, I had 57.6 miles to the gallon in that run. My best run during the underload run with the two guys I rode with from Albuquerque was, I think, 52 miles to the gallon. And I was, my lowest was, I want to say 41 point some change, like 41.4 or 41.3 miles to the gallon. That was my worst. So I averaged very good gas mileage. So I did very good in gas. I was more than happy. 3.4 gallons. I never missed a gas stop. Had to use my spare fuel that I took. My wife bought me a 3-liter extra gas can that I carried on the luggage rack back here. And it actually took 1 gallon of gas. And I had to use that once in the return trip in Reserve, New Mexico. And that is only because I had forgotten from previous rides last year that Reserve only has 88 octane gas. I won't put 88 octane in my old Harley Davidsons, and I will definitely not put 88 octane gas. Regardless of what anybody says, this is just for me. I will not put 88 octane gas in this FTR. And I had that 1 gallon of gas. At that point in Reserve, I had 70 miles of fuel left in the tank, with the next gas station that in Magdalena, New Mexico, that had 91 octane gas being 90 miles away. So I was 20 miles short. So I went ahead and put 1 gallon. I used my spare gas that I had brought. The 1 gallon gave me a range of 126 miles or 121 miles. I can't remember what my range was reading, something like that. It was over 120 miles, more than enough to get to Magdalena. So I used that, got to Magdalena, and that's actually when the last I remember seeing of my range was 20 miles. The next time I looked down, just a little bit ways down the road, my fuel warning light came on. So for my style of riding, I discovered that my low fuel warning light comes on at once I break 20 miles to the gallon, or 20 miles range. is when my low fuel light came on. I read in the forums where other guys come on like at 30 or 40 miles or whatever, and I've also read where guys they're getting less than 100 miles on range on their bikes, but they're riding them hard. This beast of a motorcycle is extremely hard to ride slow. I mean, this bike just wants you to crank on that throttle. I use cruise control quite a bit, and I'll tell you, cruise control on the long run, cruise control was awesome, and cruise control made the run that much more enjoyable on the FTR for me. Without cruise control, I am sure my throttle hand would have been hurt. And it hurts on the Fat Boy when I do long runs on it. My wife and I have done very long runs. The longest one we did was up to Glacier Park. We did a 4,100 plus mile loop a couple of years ago for our 25th anniversary on the Fat Boy. And my right throttle hand on a 2003 Fat Boy that, had at the time top of the line technology was a poor man's throttle with the little friction knob on the bottom to hold your throttle open. That was high tech back then for cruise control on a 2003 Harley Davidson. So my throttle hand would have been tired on any of my motorcycles in the long haul. So cruise control on the bike, love it. I couldn't ever see buying a new motorcycle without cruise control. I would never buy a new motorcycle without cruise control after having experienced it. So that was the other thing. Talked about the seat, the gas, the windshield, cruise control, carrying stuff for a long run. I had more than enough room, and I could actually put more on the motorcycle than what I carried. I carried one pair of pants. I carried 3 changes of underwear, 3 pairs of socks. I carried swim trunks, not for swimming, just, to wear in the motel when I was in the room. And I carried Polypro, 2 layers of two layer stage of Polypro that I have left over from my days in the Army, and no long underwear because I have the riding gear that I have. It has insulation to add to my riding pants that also come with armor, and I carried additional cold weather layering, and I had more than enough room with the 2 bags that I had on the bike on the top. And then this bag that my wife bought me, which is an Indian motorcycle product for the FTRS, comes with the frame to mount this bag on. And this bag actually carries a whole lot more than I thought it could. Had my first aid kit in here, had my map in here, had my notebook in here, had my stuff to clean my windshield and plastics with in here. I had a couple of tools in. I had my tools in my backpack that I had at the very top. So I had more than enough room to carry the stuff that I carried, and to carry more if I was to do a week-long trip. I would have carried 2 extra pairs of pants plus what I'm wearing, and probably a couple more shirts, because when my wife and I do long runs, or if I do another long run on my own, I will either go find a laundromat to wash my clothes, or we rent a tent site that has facilities to both take showers and to that we'll be able to do laundry at. That's how we do long traveling. So overall, my FTR for me is a more than adequate and fun motorcycle to do long runs on solo. I would never dream of taking my wife on the back seat of this bike. Plus, we wouldn't be able to carry luggage. She'd be carrying the luggage on her back in a backpack. But for myself, if I was to go out alone again, and I'm hoping to go do a run to Oklahoma before Sturgis. I may or may not be able to, depending on stuff going on, and stay at Adam Sandoval's campsite out there in eastern Oklahoma. I like what he does for the motorcycle community, and what he does for first responders and veterans. And I'd like to meet the guy. And if I don't get to meet him, that's great. But I'd like to see his place and stay there, and just check out the K River Campground. I follow him. He's one of the first YouTubers I ever started following, and I really liked what he's done. I'm sorry that I missed him here in Santa Fe yesterday. but maybe I'll get to meet him in Sturgis along with some other great guys I follow on YouTube, like Riding Fish, Curtis from Indian Rider Radio with Riding Fish, um, and some other guys, especially with Indian, since Indian is really what I've been following mostly right now. Because this FTR, to close out this video, I'll do a quick walk around in here, the bike, but I am so happy and loving my decision for this motorcycle. I purchased this bike because I liked that it's different. I like that it's performance. I like that it is a world-class motorcycle, in my opinion, made by an American company with a rich history, Indian Motorcycle. And I'm not going to get into the whole thing that it's not an Indian, because for me, Indian Motorcycle is Indian from 1901. They took a respite there for a good number of years, a few decades, starting in 1953, until Polaris bought all of the Indian motorcycle rights and brought back Indian Motorcycle under Polaris. And I think that was fantastic. I am happy that Indian Motorcycle has that umbrella of Polaris and that deep tech and all the other benefits that a company like Polaris Industries brings for a motorcycle company like Indian. So for me, Indian Motorcycle is Indian Motorcycle, and I believe in that 1901. I have no problem with it, and I love it. The fun, the joy, the reliability of this motorcycle almost 8,000 miles later, the relationship I have with my dealership in Albuquerque has made me a true believer in this other American motorcycle company, the first American motorcycle company, Indian Motorcycle. I love the brand. I still love my Harley Davidsons, but I have become a customer of Indian Motorcycle. And this motorcycle that I have behind me has sold me so much on the brand that I am a returning customer less than a year later. My wife and I are now waiting on what for us is a beautiful and on paper, until we ride it, outstanding performing motorcycle, the 2022 Indian Pursuit. So we are anxiously waiting. We finally got the dates for delivery. I'm not going to put any of that either on my Facebook or on here, but we finally got our dates yesterday. And once it's actually en route and my Indian dealership calls me from Albuquerque and tells me that the bike is going to be there so I can film it being unloaded, I will then say, hey, my bike's here, but I'm not going to put anything else out there that of it until we know the date that I'm going to go actually watch and help receive my motorcycle, our motorcycle. So that's how much I believe in this company. And what, I got my Harley Davidsons, I got my Harley jackets and stuff over here on this side. But, that right there, the Wrecking Crew, flat track champions, say what you will, for those that have a problem with Indian Motorcycle winning flat track racing for the last 5 years, that they built a purpose-built bike only. They did for flat track racing, while Harley Davidson and the other guys were going with a street bike that they converted into a dirt track bike. Well, you know what? I go with that Indian company guy that during the whole thing of Harley Davidson pulling out and everything said, hey, us being Indian, the Indian Motorcycle Company, much smaller than Harley Davidson, in 7 months from paper to motorcycle, developed a motorcycle that just whooped on Harley and the other motorcycles in the flat track. Don't take away from the Wrecking Crew, the riders, that a motorcycle doesn't win a race by itself. Riders on good motorcycles win races. And Harley Davidson and the other guys, kind of like what Honda did to Harley back in the 80s when they whooped on them for a while and then left their flat track racing. Harley Davidson had the means to develop a bike that could compete with the FTR. They didn't. So, you know, they pulled out, and now I'm not sure where they're going with all that stuff. I'm not knowledgeable enough, but we'll see now with the with Harley now finally buying into, it looks like, modernizing their line of bikes. I like the direction they're going. It's a little late for Harley Davidson to win a customer like me back. I am, until Indian proves that they are a bad company. My next bike and the bike after that is going to be an Indian, because I would love to get my hands on a Scout. And I would love to get my hands on a Chief. I would love a Chief or a Chieftain, an Indian motorcycle that has that gorgeous air-cooled motor. So until Indian puts a bad taste in my mouth, kind of like the motor company did a few years ago, I will be buying Indians. And will be selling the brand like I used to sell Harley Davidson. You know, I am proud to be an Indian motorcycle company and an Indian motorcycle rider. And this FTRS behind me is, in my opinion, a world-class motorcycle. I think it benefits us all if both Harley Davidson and Indian Motorcycle produce great bikes. I think the competition between the two of them, I hope it drives them to build better bikes as they try to run up each other, because I think at the end of the day, with these two companies being innovative and successful, it's better for us, the consumer. It will give us better motorcycles, the two of them competing in both in terms of price, in terms of the performance of the motorcycles is better. And as a customer, you know, that's what we want to see. And I think Harley Davidson finally, after a bunch of mistakes that they've made, you could argue that they started their mistakes back in the Nova project of the 70s, when, you know, Harley Davidson had the opportunity to beat the Japanese motorcycle companies to the punch with great engines and great motorcycles, and decided instead to go the easier route. And nothing on the Evo. I love the Evo motor, but the easier route that Harley Davidson chose to do when they finally bought the company back was with the Evolution motor, which is nothing but the iron head with aluminum parts that made it a more reliable motor. They just fixed, the Evolution fixed pieces, the parts of the old iron heads that were bad under AMF. And they were horrible motorcycles that they built in the 70s with those engines. The Evo is just a much improved iron head motor. Instead of taking the risk and actually getting out in front, Harley Davidson went with the Evo. And the Evo did great things for Harley Davidson. I like the motors. Two of my motorcycles have Evolution motors, and one's a twin cam. My two Sporties are Evos. And then my Buell, you know, well, Buell has nothing in common with the Evolution other than the casing. And the casings, even, there's very little that is the same as the Sportster Evos. Buell is an entirely different engine, a different motorcycle, and Harley Davidson, that's another mistake Harley made, was getting rid of Buell in 2009. So there's two mistakes. And the third mistake they made was they didn't market, didn't push, and didn't, you know, get out and, with the fervor that they're pushing the new Sporties and the Pan Am now, do that with the V-Rod. The V-Rod was an amazing motorcycle. I liked it. That was pushed to the back of showrooms. It wasn't aggressively marketed. And then you had, you know, Harley Davidson guys that now can no longer ride a two-wheel motorcycle or on three-wheelers, or they've, you know, gone on to ride in the great beyond with Angel Wings or whatever. I mean, they're no longer on this planet. Harley Davidson cowered to those guys, and instead now they're caught flat-footed, and they're trying to catch up with the new Nightster, which I got my opinions on. You know, I wanted to like the Nightster, but to me it looks like pieces of the Bronx were left around the warehouse, and Harley Davidson grabbed those pieces up, did their best to make it look like a Sporty. which it resembles a Sportster actually. I think it looks a lot like one of the YouTubers that I follow mentioned. It looks like a Honda Rebel 1100. And I'm not sure what Harley Davidson's doing with that left side of the motorcycle, but it does not look good on either the Sportster S, the Pan America, or the Unitester. But I think they're moving in the right direction. Wish they would have gone with the Bronx, but I think Harley Davidson is moving in the right direction, and I wish them success with their new line of motorcycles, and I hope they stick with it, because a successful, strong Harley Davidson is good for Indian to be a successful and strong company. Because there's no way in hell, with guys like me coming over from Harley Davidson to Indian and realizing that Indian is a great motorcycle company and in many respects makes a superior motorcycle in terms of technology, performance, reliability, and yes, the quality of the bike. The paint, the metal pieces, the tires, the way the fit and finish of the engine, the seats, stock seats, fit and finish of this bike is as good as any Harley Davidson that I've ridden or owned. Looking at the and going and touching and riding and feeling the Challengers, the Roadmasters, the Chieftains, the Chiefs, and the Scouts, fit and finish of an Indian is every bit as good that I have seen as the Harley Davidsons that I have owned and ridden. The soul, I don't buy that of the guys trying to defend the Harley Davidson brand. I think that if you feel the need to dig so deep into your bag of defense for a brand that you love that you have to talk about the soul of a motorcycle and the customization. Hey, you guys that haven't seen what guys are doing with FTRs and at Scouts, you want to talk customization, just go look on any forum and any group of Indian motorcycles. Guys are doing incredible personalization and customization of their FTRs and Scouts. And I'm sure the Chiefs now, the new Chiefs have only been out a year, and the other Indian motorcycles. But out of the box and with customization, I don't know. My Indian FTRS has as much soul as any of the three Harleys I have. And I have a 93 Sportster, I have a 2001 Sportster, and I have a 2003 Fat Boy. You know, the bikes that Harley guys like to say have the true soul. Well, if you want true soul of a Harley Davidson, then go get yourself a used 90s era or early 2000s era Sportster before they rubber mounted the Evos in 2004. Because those are the bikes that I got, and I can tell you that those two Sporties and that 03 Fat Boy with the 88 twin cam they don't have any more or any less soul in this bike right behind me right here. That with the Akrapovic exhaust, a modern water cooled engine that I love cranking on. My bike has as much soul as any Harley Davidson I've ever ridden and any Harley Davidson I've owned. So, you know, you got to dig that deep to defend Harley Davidson, then, you know, or any other product. Talking about soul, fit, and finish. You either haven't ridden, owned, or really touched and felt and been around other brands of motorcycles. That includes the European brands and Japanese brands. Enough to know that, you know, they have pretty good quality on their motorcycles. Go check out one of the new BMW R18s. The fit and finish on those motorcycles is incredible. So, yeah, I don't buy it. I'll probably edit a little bit of this rant out. I mean, not because, you know, I get tired of hearing about that. You know, I was a Harley guy for over 20 years, and I badmouth this brand that I love now because I was open-minded enough to walk into an Indian dealership, test ride a bike, touch their bikes, test ride their other bikes, and see what all the fuss was about, and then actually buy one and own one. And almost a year later, well, now 8 months later, I have as much passion for Indian that I had when I was 30 years old or in my late 20s getting my first Harley Davidson motorcycle, which I loved back then. And I still love my three Harleys and my Buell. But anyway, so can you tour on this bike? Hell yeah. Can you race on this bike? Oh, just go watch the hooligan races. That has every make of a motorcycle. Watch the hooligan race down in Daytona for Bike Week and see how this FTR did against a much lighter and on paper just as powerful KTM, and see how this American V-twin did up against a freaking high-speed European bike. KTM's are pretty badass. I'd like to own one. I almost bought a KTM before I walked into Indian and saw the FTR. I was very close to buying the KTM 890. So with that, quick walk around my bike. It's clean now. It's got new tires. I wore those other old Michelins down to the markers, and my bike was ready for new tires. I'm happy with my Michelins. They didn't let me down. Don't know if the Messers would have ever been a good tire, but I just didn't trust it after they blew out of me at 1,500 miles, that rear tire. You can watch one of my other videos, or I may elaborate on that another time again. But in the meantime, let's walk around my FTR. All right, so here in my little shed, I kind of got her posed. So here we got my windshield that did amazing for me. I will tell you that one thing that I didn't mention before, the light. I am not that impressed with, I love the look of it, but I'm not that impressed with the light that this gives up, because I ride to the gym in the morning and it's dark. It's still like night. And honestly, I think the halogen on my Buell Firebolt provides better light distance than this one does. So I know Indian sells an aftermarket light for the bike that's supposed to be better. It's adequate, but I was surprised that it wasn't better. So there's the front of my bike. Here's the left side, and if you look at any Indian motorcycle, all sides of an Indian motorcycle are the picture side. The motor company's picture side, and they will tell you, they said it with their Sporty S, it's the other side, which is why they didn't put a dual disc brake on the front tire of the Sportster S. But not sure what Harley Davidson did over here with the Sportster S. So there it is. There's the bag. I thought the bike would look odd with the bag. I've asked my wife sometimes when she's driving and I'm riding out in front of her, and she said it looks okay. I thought he would look unbalanced, but I guess the bike looks okay. Got the wife's approval. And there is Harley Davidson's picture side, the muffler side. My bike looks good on this side too. It's good from the front, the back, the side. One thing I do want to mention, and I mentioned it when I first bought the bike, there are guys that have, most guys actually, have a huge issue with this. There's a guy that I started following from Carolina something or other that rides it. They just got an FTRS, a maroon one. And like me, don't have a problem with this at all. This splash guard right here is actually functional. And I do not plan on ever removing this from the bike. I don't think it looks bad. I think it looks okay. It looks good to me on the bike. And again, I like that this splash guard is functional. What I wish Indian would have done, and I've seen a guy, and I saved his post on one of the FTR forums on Facebook, is a splash guard here like my Buell has and a lot of sports bikes have, is a splash guard right here. I wish Indian would have put one. So I'm going to go back to that post that I saved, and I'm going to look into getting a splash guard for right there. I'm not sure why Indian didn't put a splash guard there, so I want to do that. And then I'm considering, after my wife brought it up, Indian does sell a splash guard that goes up here and mounts to these two brackets that I had to purchase to be able to mount this bracket for the messenger bag. So there's my Indian. I kind of like, you know, I'm not a Dodge guy. I can admit that the cars look amazing. I just don't trust them. I like how Indian made this backlight look like the Challenger and Charger. I think that the back of the light of the Indian looks outstanding. And so there she is. I love this bike. The more I ride it, the more I love it. And I'm normally not in. I am normally not in my videos. So there was a walk around of my Indian, and not sure how much I'm going to edit out. This video is kind of long. I did want to include some of the ride. And with that, happy Easter. Espinosa out.